Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that my friends and I got wrong about Kenner's Star Wars action figures. Star Wars were the first toys that I really became obsessed with as a kid, and I can still remember the excitement of seeing Star Wars figures for the first time when a friend brought his to school. I also remember, like it was yesterday, picking out my first four Star Wars figures at the toy store Lionel Leisure City. My first four were Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, and C3PO. They didn't have the entire set, and of the ones they had, those were my four choices. My friends and I all loved playing with Star Wars figures. The first wave included 12 figures, and I was lucky enough to eventually get all 12 of them. Kenner had a huge hit on their hands, so it was an obvious decision to add more figures to the line as soon as possible. It wasn't long before a new batch of figures arrived in stores. The second wave included 8 new action figures for a whole new set of adventures. There were 4 alien creatures from the Mos Eisley Cantina, a pair of droids that reminded me of R2-D2 and C3PO, the Death Star droid, and R5-D4, one of my least played with Star Wars figures, Power Droid, and my personal favorite of the new 8, Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing pilot uniform. Maybe it's just me, but the X-Wing pilot Luke figure seemed to be the main figure that Kenner pushed in their television commercial for the new wave of Star Wars figures. The X-Wing Luke came with the same blaster that came with Han Solo from the first wave, which seemed to be the perfect accessory as far as I was concerned. As soon as I brought this awesome figure home from the toy store, he was instantly included in my playtime adventures. But as a kid, my friends and I didn't understand that Luke was supposed to be wearing black goggles under his helmet and above his eyes. We thought for some reason he had black hair. That choice wouldn't have made much sense because the goggles worn by X-Wing pilots in the original trilogy were orange. So why make them black on the figure? Maybe you couldn't see the goggles in the photo that Kenner was given for the Luke in his X-Wing outfit, or maybe the orange goggles just didn't look right on an action figure in the late 70s. Or most likely it was just cheaper to make them black because they were already using black for several of the details on the figure's head. As a kid, it didn't matter to me, but still, my friends and I just didn't understand why Luke had black hair. The X-Wing Luke was the first figure to repeat a character in a new costume, so this was the first time that kids had to choose whether they were going to play with the 2 Luke figures one at a time or use the 2 figures to be the 2 different characters in their adventures. I would sometimes pretend that the X-Wing Luke was actually one of the other X-Wing pilots, so the original Luke and the X-Wing pilot Luke could go on adventures together without being the same character. That was easy to do since the X-Wing pilot Luke didn't really look that much like Luke Skywalker. In fact, if you were lucky enough to have more than one X-Wing Luke, they could just serve as a squadron of X-Wing pilots. I don't remember thinking about it as a kid, but Wedge Antilles was in all 3 movies, and he was wearing a similar outfit to the one worn by Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing pilot outfit, so why not use X-Wing Luke as Wedge? After all, Wedge did have black hair. Another figure released around the same time was Walrus Man. As kids, my friends and I just thought of him as one of the random cantina creatures. I guess because he was dressed so differently as an action figure than his character in the movie, we didn't get that he was supposed to be the guy who got his arm cut off by Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Mos Eisley Cantina. To make matters worse, I was the first one in my group to get any of the Cantina creatures, and I got them with the Sears playset, so I never saw the artwork on the Walrus Man package, which did look like the character from the movie. Still, most of us had only seen the movie once or twice, so some of the details were pretty fuzzy in our minds, I guess. In fact, it wasn't until the internet came along that I even knew the guy's name was Ponda Baba. Although I also had the figures of Snaggletooth, both the one in the blue outfit and the one in the red outfit, I didn't remember that character from the movie either. Greedo I remembered, even though he didn't look exactly right either, and I did have a vague memory of Hammerhead being one of the creatures from that scene, But when it came to Walrus Man, I was just happy to have another alien figure to play with. Were you confused by either of these action figure details as a kid? Did you get something else wrong about any of the Star Wars toys? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you have a chance, it would be great if you would share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell. As always, thanks for watching.